Because we are the only place in the world who pick somebody's obvious physical peculiarity and that become them name. If you head big, name big head. If you're tall name, if you're shorty name shorty. That's why they call me Blacker. Within grade 3, we're learning about adjective, comparative, superlative. Mr. Big is the adjective, bigger comparative, bigger superlative. Now class, look around the room for some examples. One boy said, "Teacher, we black and him blacker." That became my name. I embrace it. We alone say so, we call, people get name called by body parts. Right, Mr. Chin? I know a man right now have a physical exceptionality. He have one long hand and one short hand, and they call him Clock. We just special. Jamaica we name. And if we could, and we very, very smart, very smart. I pass a man in Ocean I tell a tourist, listen me, man, this is not taste and buy. This is pay then try. It's the best new thing designed by I&I. It's the first of its kind. A special kind of bungee jumping. Cordless. Pay me and then jump. We are special. But you know, I want to tell Consul General Oliver Mayer and Tony Hendricks and everybody who quoting people, I'm going to quote my favorite Jamaican. She went to the best high school in the world. No, she went to Excelsior. You have high school and high school. The word Excelsior means yet higher. Dr. Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley. She said, every hoe have stick a bush, every long road have been, hot sun have shady tree, and the longest prayers have amen. Amen.
Oh my. I think say whiter take away blacker time. Because he was supposed to come up and just introduce him and come out, but he gone all over the place, right? So Blacker had to be short, because we're running behind time right now. He made nice. All right. All right, so it's that big moment, and I'd like to welcome on stage Mrs. Nicolene Worthy Donaldson, as marketing manager of LASCO Financial Services Limited, and she will introduce the Honorable former Prime Minister.
Good evening, everyone. It is my esteemed honor to have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker this evening. He's a sharp with wit, sure of works, remarkable man I believe you all know quite well. Our next presenter is an astute international statesman who has unreservedly dedicated his life to the advancement of Jamaica and its people. In so doing, his many varied and exceptional achievements on the local, regional, and international stage are quite frankly unparalleled. The United Nations, the Group of 77, the Commonwealth, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific Group, and CARICOM are but a few of the organizations on which its former Calabar student has left an indelible mark. There are numerous other international bodies to which he has contributed. I am challenged to summarize the achievements of a leader that has honorably served Jamaica as Prime Minister for an impressive, unbroken streak of 14 years. Among his many triumphs during his record-breaking tenure, he succeeded in transforming Jamaica's economic and political landscape. However, it is his contribution to improving the social fabric of our island nation on which we will focus tonight. An attorney by trade, our speaker conceptualized and implemented several initiatives to strengthen the country's social protection and security systems, a critical element of his economic and social policy agenda to reduce poverty and social deprivation. Again, time will not allow me to delve into the multiple policies, but one could argue that some of the most notable include the reintroduction of the National Youth Service, NYS, the introduction of the Special Training and Empowerment Program, STEP, and allocation of the most substantial portions of successive national budgets to the educational sector. His efforts yielded tangible, measurable results, as evidenced by the precipitous decline in the poverty rate between the years 1991 and 2006, the years in which he led the country. Like many of you, I look forward to benefiting from this informed insight this evening. So I will end my introduction and invite you to join me in welcoming the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Percival James Patterson.
Master of Ceremonies, Mayor Messam, Mayor Rogers, Consul General Oliver Mayer, Honorable Lascelles Chin and Mrs. Chin, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, brethren and sistren. It's always a delight for me to be with my people in the diaspora, and particularly in South Florida. At one time, I was here so often that rumors began to spread that I had moved to live here. Not yet. Jamaica is only 90 minutes away, or less, depending on who's flying. So I come and I go, but we know that Florida and Jamaica are joined at the hip. One of the reasons why I'm always happy to be with you is because you make us proud by your achievements. And I read an article not too long ago which said that the most dominant and influential group in all of Florida are those who come from Jamaica. And no matter how anybody might want to describe our sisters and brethren in terms of toilet associations, we don't come from no hole. We come from a rock. And everybody know we little, but we talawa. It's a pleasure for me to participate in this inaugural event as we launch in South Florida the Lascelles Chin Foundation. The chairman of the function was going around and said he believes everybody here will claim to come from Kingston and St. Andrew. Las Chin and myself make no such claim. We come from country and we are proud of it. When I was in politics, I was accustomed to the slings and arrows of political fortune. Now that I have retired, I thought I could sit very comfortably in the audience and I didn't have to fear what any speakers before me might have to say. The Consul General was very gracious, and I thank him. But I think to put me to speak after Tony and Blacker is a great disservice. I am reminded of a brethren that lived up in the hills of Kilmarnock, which I used to represent, Brother Sam. And one night it was pouring with rain, as can happen only in the hills of Westmoreland. And there was a shouting from outside. And Brother Sam said, "Who is that?" And the man said, "I am Joseph, the son of Jah, descended from the Lion of Judah. I Rastafari, beloved one, a worshipper of the sacrament. Rain a fall down outside, let me in." The man said, "A small room this, me can't take so much of uno inside, me don't have no space for all of uno." I'm very mindful that to stand between you and the reception and the dinner, or the whatever they call it now, the hors d'oeuvres, and the little thing to be imbibed, not of the same liquid quality as was given to you, Consul General. I must be very careful. I know how much you have been gracious to me, but I really don't want to keep you unduly, especially on a Sunday evening. I want to say, though, what we are about is about the future of Jamaica. Figures show that in the entire world, persons under the age of 24 account for 20% of the world population of 7.7 billion. In Jamaica, it is not 20%, it is not 30%, it is not 40%, it is 45% of our people who are under the age of 24. So when we say our youth are our future, and we are talking about Jamaica, our youth are not only our future, our youth are our present, and we have to deal with them here and now. Much of the presentation, since we're talking about vulnerable children, has spoken about the links between our children, our youth, and crime. I want to put it in a wider dimension. We are talking about the investment in our country, the investment in our people, Our people are our most important human resource. Oil will come and oil will go. What you have in your head will stay forever. And so we really need to activate our youth as active agents of future growth and development, and not see them just as passive tools of resistance. The early and sustainable intervention for children and youth is critical to break the vicious cycle of generational poverty, and it has to help to prevent the spread of social dysfunction in families and communities, to fight social disorder, crime, and violent behavior. I'm able to speak with great comfort on this area because one of my parting acts before I retired as the Prime Minister of Jamaica was to establish a group that was to work on a vision, a national policy for Jamaica. As it turned out, I started it. It was finished during the tenure of Mr. Bruce Golding as Prime Minister. And it has been left to Portia Simpson Miller and the present incumbent Prime Minister Andrew Holness to implement that. So when we talk about these matters, we're not talking about party political matters. We're not even talking about government matters. We're talking about national matters. And in the quest to develop our people, we are talking with one united voice, which must involve not only the legislature, but all sectors of our society, including the private sector and non-governmental organizations. And that Vision 2030 speaks about empowering our youth to contribute meaningfully in building and strengthening the communities to which they belong. We talk about a Jamaica which in 2030 is safe and prosperous, and one where people are pleased to call home. If we are to attain that, it is essential that we invest in our children and our youth now in order to attain those goals of sustainable development. We have to create a secure path for our vulnerable youth, and we have to put in place training systems to prepare workers and potential workers for viewing entrepreneurship as a preferred option. We have to prepare for new entrants in the labor market, and we also have to increase the stock of business. And if we are to do that, each child, every youth, must have equal access to the opportunities of development. In Jamaica, there is mounting concern as to how we treat our children. I repeat, Laschin and myself, we come from country. Him from Manchester, I from Hanover. When we were growing up, it is true, there was poverty all around us. And yes, many children did not go to school regularly. And when they did, more often than not, they walked to school barefoot. And they were not as well dressed and as attired as they are now. But our children were never brutalized, were never murdered, were never neglected, and were never subject to sexual assaults as they are today. And we, by we I mean the adults, we have to take responsibility for that, and we have to do something to change it. And I'm going to say something which might not be very popular, but it is true. Parents have to exercise the responsibility for their children. But part of the problem is that too many of our parents are themselves youth who need protection, who need care. And any program that is dealing with vulnerable youth will also have to deal with vulnerable parents. Too many of our youth have now become victims and vulnerable to crime, to drug addiction. Some are victims of the social conditions where they live, and they are subject to exploitation. And we have a situation where it is not blacker and blacker, but whiter and whiter, where people, particularly the young people, are seeking to indulge in bleaching. This is not a joke business. This is a life and death business. And all of us have to become engaged. And it is in that context I want to place what the foundation is intending to do. Very often, foundations are spread so thin, and they cover so many worthwhile areas of need that you don't get the results which are desirable. And I think the LASCO Students Foundation is to be warmly applauded for picking on an area where nobody can question that it is critical to our nation, and also to begin in a pilot area which they have delineated. I make the point that no government can overfund the education sector. No government. And particularly when there's a competition for resources, especially when we have to be dealing with things like the phenomenon of climate change, whatever the governments can do will have to be supplemented by corporate effort and voluntary contributions. And it is not only being done out of a sense of philanthropy, which we must applaud, but out of a sense of investment in the development of the human skills which we are required to develop to build a knowledge society. The LASCO Chin Foundation has made the mission of implementing sustainable social and economic intervention for youth in Jamaica its central objective that is both timely and commendable. I want to applaud the chairman and chief executive, the Honorable Lascelles Chin, the founder and chairman, for the vision and courage to embark on this critical initiative that is very vital to the survival of Jamaica. In extending my endorsement for this worthwhile undertaking, I want to encourage Jamaicans at home and abroad and all friends of Jamaica to support a project which is of incalculable value. By supporting this vital initiative, we are supporting the progress and development of our people and our entire country. I have spoken before, and I do so again tonight. The diaspora has made and continues to make a vital